The biggest secret to becoming a profitable trader is there is no secret. However, in this video, I'll be giving you the biggest advantage to exploit in your trading career. Can you guess what that is? Risk management. I will be showing you how I prioritize my risk management so that you guys can go from mediocre months to your biggest months ever. So what I'm gonna do here is go through a journaling system, which is called Zella, which I used to use to journal my trades. Basically, it tracks all my trades, my biggest wins, my biggest losses, everything in between, so I can see where I need to fix things, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off with June of 2022, because this is where I started having some serious big months, 6-figure months, 60K months, sometimes $250,000 months, but I had to fix a few things. So what we're gonna do here is go through this, and we'll basically go through every individual day and show you guys what I really did wrong and what I had to do to go from this type of month to those big green months I was talking about. So if you come here in June, you can see that I made $59,000, $9.76, right? My trade win percentage was 58%. My average win to loss trade was 0.82. Profit factor was 1.14, and my trade expectancy was $983. So you can see here, I was having some pretty big days, $28,000, $10,000, $25,000, and you see the list goes on. But the problem with this month was I was having super big red days, right? $62,000 days, $67,000 days, and you guys can see it consistently happened throughout the month, whether it was once a week or twice a week, but it still happened. Obviously, I still had a green month, but if I really wanted to take my trading to the next level, I was gonna have to figure out a way to take, a big advantage of those green days and then minimize the risk on those red days. So what I had to do was I went through my days and I saw the average days that I was having on green days, right? Obviously, you're seeing 28K days, 10K days, $46,000 days, right? I had to figure out where my stop loss needed to be in order for me to be green consistently on every single week, right? So if I start here and I see that I had a red day of $62,000, what do I have to do here to make sure that I have a big green month and one red day doesn't mess up the whole month? So I'm looking, I find that advantage, or I find the average of my green days. So what I did was, all right, my average green days are gonna be around $20,000. If I lose $60,000, that's 3 green days that I would have had to, make that $60,000, $67,000, right? Obviously, some weeks I'll make $46,000, $17,000, $27,000. It doesn't matter. I just have to find the average of my green days. So when I go to my average, it's about $20,000. So what I did was, all right, how do I take the next step here to make sure that my red days don't affect my whole month? So if my average days are 20K, I couldn't exceed that 40K mark, right? This $40,000 day is okay because that means it only takes 2 days for me to come back. Now, obviously the whole goal is to make sure I don't even get to that $40,000, but that would be my limit for the day. Now, if I look at something like this, right? How do I have my stop loss at, exactly 40 or less than 40,000? It's not as easy as saying, all right, I'm gonna just cut my day at exactly 40, because you can be in a trade and, it's just not going your way, or you might think it'll come back, whatever the case may be. Now, what I had to do during this month is I had to say, all right, what is 40K, right? What percentage of my total value is that, right? So if I'm using, 100,000, that's 40% stop loss. If I'm using 200,000, that's 20%, and the list goes on. Now, I said, all right, let me look at my days, right? How much am I using for these trades? I go to 62,000 for my day, and that 42,000 of, which was the biggest loss that day, was a 26% loss. And I only had 1 green trade. So obviously I was on a streaker and nothing was going my way that day. So I said, okay, 40,000 is going to be about 20%, right? If I want to cut it below 40. So my stop losses need to be no more than 20%. So I looked at this month and I said, all right, for the following month, what I'm gonna do is be super strict. I don't care if I think the trade's gonna come back. I don't care if I can make that trade back on the next trade. I will not let my days go past 40K. Now, it does sound, easier said than done, but when you try to execute that, you're very strict and you still might slip up, but it won't be as consistent because obviously I had some big red days, which was 4 of them in a month, and that's not that good, right? I had one that was 30,000. That's actually perfect because that's about 1.5 days of my average days, right? So now what I did was the following month, as you can see, I made 60K in June. This is when I first started going in heavy. I go to July, and then if I change this, July 1st to July 31st, you guys can see I went from a 60K month in June to $288,000, almost $289,000 in July. Now, you're gonna be able to tell what I was doing a little bit differently, right? So obviously I haven't used this in a minute. Go to July 2022. You can see, obviously this day I had a $47,000 trade, but previous to that, I was down pretty badly. Then I realized, all right, I gotta be extra strict because at one point I was down $46,000, but this was a 40% stop loss. My green trade was 49%. I made basically everything back plus $164 after commissions. Then the next time I got to trade that day was, or that month was $31,000 in the green, right? And now look at my red days compared to my green. $9,000, $6,000. So that's 2 red days right there. And that's half of the average that I'm expecting on my green days, right? $9,000, $6,000. Those are perfect days because it takes less than a full day of trading for me to make that back. As you can see, the consistent trades this month in July was not even 20,000. It was far more than that. You're looking at an average of $30,000, $40,000, $30,000 days if you do this, right? Now, I did let this slip up one time this month, but the slip up was $70,000, and you can see that that didn't really affect my month. I still had a $288,000, but at one point I was up $353,000. So one big red day didn't affect my month, right? Instead of me being up potentially in June, if I didn't let all those days, mess up my month, I would have been up closer to $300,000 just like I was in July. So all I did was become stricter on my risk management. So what you need to do, just like I did, is find your average green days, not your biggest, not your smallest. Kind of cut those out when you're doing the average and really just find the in-betweens, right? So if I do the average, it was about $20,000, $30,000. So what I want to do is make sure that my red days don't accumulate or don't become bigger than 1 or 2 trading days, 2 trading days at max. Now, obviously, it will slip up just like it did for me on the 28th of July, but you see how big of a difference risk management can be to your trading career. Instead of having a 60K month, I had a almost $300,000 month. And then the following month, becomes stricter and stricter. Obviously, you want to be more precise on your green days because if there isn't anything there, you don't want to take just a red day and just say, all right, I followed my risk management. I didn't lose more than I wanted to. I stopped it. Instead of doing that, walk away, become more precise. There's always something to be better at when you're trading, right? So as you can see, I just want to show you what happened this day. I lost $190,000 on one trade, and the next trade I made $120,000. 51%, 17%. I went way heavier on that trade. So there are days where, I let things slip a little too much, but I'm at a point in my career where I can fix a lot of my mistakes. So that was the biggest thing that happened in my trading career when I started going heavier. I had to figure out the average green days, and then I had to make sure that my one red day doesn't maximize my 2 green trading days. Obviously, it would be great if it's 1. For example, like this 9K and 6K red day was far less than, my average day in July. So my average day was 30K, and these 2 trading days, I lost about $15,000, which is perfect, right? And then I lost $32,000, which is right there, right? I'm losing basically 1 green trading day of the month, which I can match up here to my $37,000 day on the 12th, right? So find your green trades, find the average in between all those green trades. All right, now I know how much I can lose in a day and how much I can afford to lose in a day. Obviously, after knowing your trade win percentage, right? If you have a 50-50 trade winning percentage, then obviously you have to be super, super strict because that means half of the times you're green and half of the times you're red. So if you're only, for example, if you're losing, 5K on your red days and then making 5K on your green days, then you're going to be basically break even for the rest of the month, right? Which is still a good thing because that means your risk management is still there. Now, if you have a higher percentage than 50%, then that means your risk management right, could be just like mine, where it'll be the average, basically 5K and 5K, right? If I lost 10K and made 10K the next day, I will still be green at the end of the month because my average win percentage is bigger than 50%. Now, I had to maximize that in July, like I said, and I did a really good job by holding back my red days versus my green days. And I feel like that was the biggest advantage in my trading career, because in order for me to go in heavy for the month, right, or heavy in one single trade, I had to make sure that my stop loss was very precise, because if I let it go too far, then it's going to take me, for example, a week to make those trades back. And obviously we don't know if we're going to be green for the rest of the week. So now you're risking being red one day that would affect 5 trading days of your career in that month. And then you don't know if you're going to be green the next 5 days. So if I take another red trade and then a green trade and then a red trade, I'm still down pretty badly. So become stricter in your stop losses. Find out your average on your green trades. Don't let your red trades go past 2 trading days of your average profit. And that was the biggest thing to my trading career. And I feel like if you guys followed that, your trading career would take a bigger step, or a bigger leap forward at least, versus just being prepared for the day, coming up with your trade ideas. Yes, those are all cool things that become a big factor of your trading. If your risk management isn't there, then your trading career will not be profitable. So instead of trying to find that one secret sauce that can benefit your trading career, or adding all these little indicators to your screen to help your trading, or giving you these buy and sell signals, you need to prioritize risk management, because that's your foundation. If you have a foundation, then you could start adding those little things. But if you don't have a foundation, how do you expect these indicators and all these, trade ideas that you guys come up with to actually execute on a bigger level? Prioritize risk management so that if you're wrong the next 2 out of your 3 trades, you can still be green for the month. And let's be honest, a lot of you guys are just starting and you guys aren't that good at it. It's normal. It's just like a sport. When you start off a sport, you're gonna suck. And a lot of you guys do suck at this, right? So we need to figure out a foundation to build on so that you guys can be green at the end of the month.